Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on Church Stories. I am Onyi Okbala. Let's begin. Communities around and across southern Cameroons are facing mounting hardship as a combination of deteriorating infrastructure and heightened security operations, deepening the challenges of daily life in the troubled nation. In the southern Cameroons, residents of Akom have been effectively cut off from surrounding towns after heavy rains rendered key roads impassable, disrupting trade, movement, and access to essential services. Meanwhile, in the other parts, particularly in Ekona in Muyuka, residents report a surge in arrests and alleged abuses linked to the ongoing military operations by the Rapid Intervention Battalion, the BIR. Together, these developments shows the widening strain on civilian population who are grappling not only with long-standing infrastructure deficit, but also the pressures of a protracted security crisis in Ambazonia. Observers say the situation underscores the urgent need for both humanitarian attention and sustainable policy responses to address the overlapping challenges affecting communities across the southern Cameroons. All these and more, we will look in on today's Undaunted. But first, let's get the prime headlines. Well, tonight on Undaunted, Ekona residents require mass abduction, beatings by bees, and sweep for Ambazonian State Army. Also tonight, French Cameroon Army defuses suspected IED at Tubah as ASA campaign continues. Tonight, we take a look at the heavy rain cut off Akom as roads become impassable, raising fresh infrastructure concerns in the Cameroons. Tension rise in Kumbo as female traders protest alleged military abuses at the Mbveh market. On the African scene, thousands mourn Sadio Kamara as car bomb killing exposes Mali's deepening security crisis, while on the global scene, China responds to speculation over nuclear-powered aircraft carrier after the Navy video sparks buzz. Now let's get the news in full briefings. Residents of Ekona in Muyuka local government area of the Atlantic zone of the Federal Republic of Nigeria say they are facing random abductions, beatings, and detention by elements of the French Cameroons Intervention Battalion detachment during an operation to locate Ambazonia State Army. Multiple locals said that French Cameroon soldiers have entered homes and detained civilians, demanding information on the whereabouts of what they call Amber Boys. They abduct you even at your residence. They will just catch you and beat you up, including shaving your head, under the pretext of seeking information about certain individuals, said one resident with direct knowledge of the incident who asked not to be named for fear of reprisal. According to another resident, he said, "If I tell you that I am okay, then it's a lie. As of now, everyone in Ekona is on alert. They will catch everyone, a child, a woman, man, beat them up and let them go home." Well, Undaunted learned that some of those detained are beaten and released, while others are taken to the base. The distinction in treatment remains unclear. Another resident said that talks told civilians that claim would not return unless they disclose where these Amber Boys were hiding. The soldier said if the population does not show where the Amber Boys are hiding, and there will be no peace in Ekona. All right, and that is why, I beg your pardon, that they are beating people and putting them under the sun till they show where the Ambers are hiding. Well, Ekona, for all we know, is a farming community along the BIR Kumbo highway. Well, it has seen repeated clashes between the French Cameroon forces and the Ambazonian State Army since the Ambazonian War escalated in 2017. Colonial checkpoints and patrol have also intensified in Muyuka local government area in recent months following attacks on colonial military convoys and administrative buildings. The third base detachment is part of an elite unit deployed to Ambazonian areas for counter-insurgency operation. The Cameroon Human Rights Commission has previously called on all parties to respect civilian protection under national and international law. Residents say the operations have disrupted farming and schooling, with many families keeping children indoors. Market activities in Ekona has dropped as traders avoid travel along routes with heightened colonial military presence. Human rights groups have documented similar allegations of mass arrest and ill treatment in other parts of Fako County this year. French Cameroon forces have been accused of violations against civilians in the ongoing war, which has displaced more than 70,000 people since 2016, according to the UN figures. Barrister Mbeseha, welcome to Tonight on Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Barrister. Last week we got a report about some persons, innocent persons, being killed in a festival just because the French colonial army were looking for the Ambazonian State Army. In that report, it was indicated that the French Cameroon, got what they considered as an intelligence gathering, and that is why they went to search for the Amber boys. Barely 1 week after, they are going to homes in Ekona looking for these same Amber boys. One would think that if they are certain, why not go to the specific houses, right? Other than torturing children and women who are not even boys in the first place. But you know, let's get your thoughts, Barrister. It's a sad Thursday here. Let's get your thoughts.
Well, the mistake is that some make a new. It's a recurrence every day, every night in Ambazonia. Let us come straight to Ekona. People don't know what Ekona is. Ekona is actually in Mbveh, I call it. But even though under Muyuka, Ekona is less than 5 kilometers from Mbveh. I lived in Ekona. I worked there. So I know where Ekona is. Ekona, you do 10-20 minutes on foot. You're in Muya. And in Ekona, there's a police station. In Muya, there's a barrack. There's all those things. They're all there. But Ekona has become the fertile ground where these bees go to farm. They farm money from people. They extort anything they can find under the pretext of looking for amber. Just under a year or so ago, if you still remember, the very big people went to Ekona, met children playing football in the football field. They adopted them to Boya. And so they were amber. What happened to those children? To show that Ekona is not even far, the Ekona women went on foot. They left Ekona and walked on foot up to Boya. Until the people that they didn't release these people, they remain there until they are released. And so they capitulated by releasing those boys. And so where the military takes over the streets, chaos reigns thereafter. Because the military were never meant to do law enforcement. The military are meant to fight wars. And so whatever thing they call intelligence, what does it mean to a class 7 boy who went to Kutaba and got trained to shoot people? What does intelligence mean to him? They don't deal with intelligence. They deal with brute force. And so the idea that they got intelligence, there was someone left or right, be it in somewhere in Shakiri or in Ekona or in Mbveh, it's just fabrication to justify their crimes. So it is just one too many. Ekona, as far as the southwest, you call it, Boya area is concerned, has been devastated because of this war. There's almost nobody living there in peace. Almost everybody has escaped. Those who remain there just don't know where to go. And Ekona was a hub, a large population there. I was a teacher in Ekona myself, so I know what the population of Ekona is. A small town like that, we had about 3 or 4 primary schools. And today, there are about 3, 4, 5 colleges there. So you can imagine the population which is there. And if you have several colleges, you can imagine the number of youths, because only young people attend those colleges. And so they have found a place where they can go every weekend. If they are hungry, they get money by adopting the people. If they feel not satisfied, they need women, they adopt girls and raise them when they wish. And then go back home. And so the Ekona people have lived with that. The important thing that comes out of this today, 30th of April 2026, is that this is happening, be it Jakiri or be it Ekona. They are happening 2 weeks or a week after the papal visit, where the Pope talk peace, the Pope talk negotiations, the Pope talk justice, where our Catholics, the bishops and archbishops, vowed that peace now or never anymore. Now the Pope is gone. They have gone back to redouble their efforts to do what they were doing before. And so the central question you can ask is, if these people don't even respect the Pope, are these people anybody can ever trust? They received the Pope, they borrowed the money, if we're told, made everything to make sure that the Pope was successful, and then all his recommendations have no meaning. But they've not learned from their past errors. We're 10 years to the fight, they have not been able to win. It is not a winnable fight. If in truth they go to Ekona because they want to go and see people there who will tell them where Mbveh is, they have failed, because for the past 9 years they have been doing that. They have not rooted anybody from there. And so until they learn from the past, if you don't learn from your past, you head to hell. Until they learn that they cannot fight this Ambazonian war by what they are doing. They have to fight by the Ambazonian war by facing the real facts. Do justice, that is listening to the people. Reconcile with the people, and then the war will end. And the only way you will do all those things is confront the big elephant in the house. Meet the political leaders of the Ambazonian fighters, the ASAs. Talk with them on a one-on-one basis before a mutually agreed mediator, and then some solution or agreement will be found. Other than that, 10 years passed, we've done nothing. Another 20 years passed, it will not end. And so if they have not learned anything from what happened in Bamenda, in Mbveh, in Jakiri, in wherever you can name it, nothing will change when it comes to Ekona. The same ASAs are using the same tactic that they use anywhere else in Ambazonia. In Ekona, they don't sit in houses where you go and catch a woman to show you where they are hiding in a room or under the bed. They don't sit there unless you are so stupid. They don't do that. If they were doing that, those very Ambazonian people who are catching men and women, they are their children. They know what they are fighting for. They are not the ones who betray their children and hand them over to you to go and kill. So it's a fair strategy. Let them revise it or not. But we hope the Pope is watching. And the Pope watches because in the corner, we have a number of colors. We even have a whole parish there with priests sitting there. And someone said the Vatican is the one that is represented everywhere in the world. In Cameroun, they are represented in every single village where you have priests. They are represented in every household where you have catechists. And I'm sure the Vatican, the Pope, through his bishop who lives in Mbveh there, less than 7 kilometers away, they will find the report. Let the Pope know that all his efforts have been wasted because these are unrepentant criminals. You cannot change a repentant criminal. You cannot turn a devil into an angel. And so that is what I can say about it now. Ekona today, yesterday was Jakiri, tomorrow will be another town. But that none of those things is ending the war. The war continues. People continue to bleed. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister. Well, that's not even all. A similar incident is happening in Tubah, where the French Cameroon forces neutralizing an explosive device at the Tubah Colonial Police checkpoint in Mbveh early Tuesday, April 28 morning, in the latest incident showing the Ambazonian State Army's determination to sustain its push for independence in southern Cameroons. Well, according to local sources, the device was discovered at dawn and is suspected to have been planted overnight. Colonial police officers cordoned off the area and carried out a controlled detonation to render it safe. No injuries or fatalities were recorded. But traffic along the Bamenda-Mbveh stretch was temporarily halted as a precaution, but has since resumed. Local authorities maintain a visible presence at the checkpoint, and the situation, they say, is calm. The attempt attack fits a pattern of IED placement at the colonial secret post and colonial administrative offices since 2017. Analysts say such tactics signals the Ambazonian State Army's continued effort to disrupt colonial state authorities and assert control despite military pressure. While French Cameroon government forces have intensified patrols and checkpoint securities, while the ASA have repeatedly stated that operations targeting symbols of the French Cameroon will continue until demands for independence are addressed. The Ambazonian government in recent months have vowed to make the areas ungovernable and also to ensure that no other authority takes place when it comes to their Cameroons. While the Tubah checkpoint is a key transit point linking Bamenda to universities and farming communities in Mbveh, traders and students say repeated security alerts have raised transport costs and travel times as well. Well, according to a motorcyclist says each time there is a scarce, we spend hours waiting, said the student at the University of Bamenda, of course, who asked to stay anonymous here. French Cameroon security officials say IEDs are often locally fabricated and planted under cover of darkness. Well, Tuesday's device was spotted by officers during a routine sweep preventing what they call potential casualties. Colonial authorities have not issued a formal statement, but senior colonial security forces said investigations are on the way to identify those behind the placements. Additionally, we got information that deployments have been ordered around the Mbveh corridor. On this other information, it says that Yaoundé says that they are ready for dialogue and territorial integrity is non-negotiable. All right, Barrister, you can see what happened in Mbveh and in Tubah police station. Do you think that is they are accusing the ASA of dropping their IEDs there? Do you think that it would be the ASA that would do that?
No, I don't think. 90% chances they are just lying. Those are mounted things. They want to mount something to show that they are working. Because if it is true, the other parties want telling us at their checkpoint, where were they? Where were they at the checkpoint when they planted the thing? And if it was planted at the checkpoint, what led them to tell there was something wrong there? It is a security guard, so there's something there. So chances are that they put out those things there. They come and pretend to do what they are doing, just to show whether they are efficient. Because they will ask themselves, as I've just said, it is at the checkpoint. The checkpoint is where to sit 24/24. They extort money from people. And so how would the ASA come there to bury that thing? And if they bury it, successfully bury it, what made them think that there was something suspicious there? So every analysis of it points to the fact that those are planned things. They do those things to pretend to show you only that they are doing some work. I remember when the Pope said there are people who are getting rich using this war. Somebody will get a promotion for making that detective, for claiming that he discovered that thing. And so even then, it is an improvised device made out of what? And where did the material come from? And so these are scammers. We know that Tubah is along the Mbveh area there. That is the area that has been hot. That's where the university students are found. They have concentrated a lot of effort there. First, because the young people are there. Second, because there are young girls there. They can prey on those girls. Thirdly, because there's heavy traffic. They can get money all the time. And so when they mount this sort of stupid thing, they themselves take pictures to show how vigilant they are. They send them to Yaoundé, and then something will come out to mount a statement, which they're still preparing. Maybe watching for how we shall react. Then the story will come out maybe tomorrow or later this evening, telling the world how effective they are, how they successfully detonated all this stuff. They are just liars. They are scammers. But if they are not scammers, if this is done by the ASAs, congratulations. But the bottom line is, if the ASA can go right to that point and do it, that should go to what I had analyzed earlier. They should realize they are not winning the war. If the ASA can penetrate right to their checkpoints at will and put IEDs, then there's evidence that they cannot win that war. That war is not winnable. Come to the discussion table as soon as you can to save your own lives, to spare some of your lives for your future use, and so on and so forth. And so that's what I think about it. Again, if it is ASAs, congratulations. But most chances are that that's something mounted by the criminal juntas of Yaoundé to show their own prowess, how efficient they are. They take the pictures, they say, oh, nobody was hurt. Then they clap for themselves and go back home. Then they go to Ekona pretending to look for ASAs. They catch a few people, adopt them to somewhere, extort money from them, and let them go. And they say they're looking for ASAs. Who tells them that the ASAs are living in houses in Ekona? That the woman will go and show them where they are. Who told them that the ASAs can come, if they come, to where their checkpoint is? They should have said they discover it somewhere. Their checkpoint is where they are there 24/24. And the ASAs came there and planted it without they knowing it. Then they should be a very funny army. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. And we really, the question you asked there is a very sensitive one. If the ESA can plant the IEDs just like they had saying, the question is, where were they? All right, thank you. While we're waiting for that question to be answered, let's head over to Akom, where heavy rains have further isolated Akom, a town in the southern Cameroons. And of course, you know that this area is already fragile with poor road infrastructure, but it gives way on the persistent downpours, deepening concerns over accessibility and economic activity in the area. The key road linking Akom to Eboluwa has been overtaken by a long waterlogged stretch of mud, making it nearly impossible for vehicles to pass. Transporters report that even heavy-duty trucks are unable to navigate this route, leaving passengers and goods stranded. At the same time, the Akom-Kribi Road, another critical corridor for trade and mobility, has become completely impassable, effectively cutting the town off major commercial centers and coastal access. Residents say the situation has turned everyday movement into a grueling ordeal. Commuters often spend hours attempting to cross short distances, with some forced to abandon vehicles or rely on manual efforts to push cars and motorcycles through thick mud. For many, access to basic services such as healthcare, education, and markets has been severely disrupted. Local traders warn that the road crisis is beginning to impact livelihoods. Agricultural produce risks spoiling before reaching markets, while the cost of transporting goods has surged due to delays and increased difficulty. Well, according to an eyewitness, they say we are losing income every day, noting that some transport operators have suspended services entirely until conditions improve. The question is, when would this condition improve? We've been crying for this every day. While the deteriorating situation has also raised safety concerns, as stranded travelers are sometimes left overnight on dangerous stretches of road with limited access to shelter or assistance. Community members have called for urgent intervention, including emergency road repairs and long-term infrastructure investment. The crisis has reignited debate over infrastructure development in the area, particularly given that it is widely regarded as a political stronghold of President Paul Biya and the ruling Cameroon's People's Democratic Movement. Critics argue that the current condition shows a disconnect between officials' narrative of development and the realities faced by rural communities. Observers note that while heavy rains are a recurring seasonal challenges, the extent of the disruption points to long-standing issues with road maintenance, drainage system, and public works planning. Similar problems have been reported in other parts of the country during the rainy season, raising broader concerns about resilience and preparedness. As the rains continue, residents of Akom remain effectively cut off, with hopes pinned on swift government response to restore access and prevent further economic and social hardship. Barrister, very terrible role there. I would have said almost impossible, but then I'm sure that you have other words that will describe the actual situation that we are seeing from the videos.
Well, maybe put down the summary, please. Akom 2 is not in Ambazonia, it is in the south. A road linking a town in the south to Ebolova. Ebolova is a region of Mr. Paul Biya. And so if they don't have any road there, as we see, there's no doubt about that. There's no road there. The question they should be asking themselves is, we come from the region of Mr. Paul Biya, who has been in power for 43 years. We don't have even a road. If Akom 2 in Ebolova does not have a road, do you expect to have a road in Mbveh or in Froawa? Certainly not. But why do they have no road? The simple reason is, as far as Ambazonia is concerned, and their story, they don't have the money. But do they lack the money? No. In the last 10 years, whatever money they had, they have used it to fight Ambazonia. Take away all the money they have used to fight us without any success. That money could at least have been able to grade that road. Just grading it, they don't fix roads. They don't care. They do it for a few months. You know what, in 2-season period, dry season and rainy season. When the rain comes, they themselves pack and go. And now I come to where you find it there. You have a supervisor sitting there. A chef de terre. How does he navigate to that place where he calls it his office? In Ebolova, you have a governor and all those people there. How do they navigate on those roads? You cannot even doubt it. It's not different from what we had in Ambazonia. I remember the story of Ambazonia, where, for example, the so-called governor of the Southwest, Leboy, he was going to install the prefect of the BLM. I think he stayed on the road for a number of days, using military jeeps and trucks. They could not even get there because there's no road. But I think as far as Ambazonia is concerned, we're only asking the question, how and where, why did it get to this point for us? Because as far as roads is concerned, I've said here many times before, and all of us agree, we had a system for maintaining roads. We never had that type of road for the few roads that we had in Ambazonia. Because we had to take care of the roads. Even if the road was not tired, we knew that the rains would come. The roads were graded, gutters were put to direct water away from the road. And so that is a reminder. If they cannot fix their own roads, it is a reminder to Ambazonia that there's no hope for us. There's no hope thinking that tomorrow things will be better. Because even things were better, they will start from their own place. Like we say in our country talk, when your brother is on top of the palm tree, you eat the best. They send you the blackest ones. And so if the money came to Paul Biya in Yaoundé, I had the option to choose between Akom Day and Womb Road. Who will send the money? We send it to Akom Day, even if it's the loan that you're taking. And so, for as far as Ambazonia is concerned, that should only serve to us as a lesson to say we are in the wrong place. If they cannot take care of theirs, we not expect them to take care of us. And so that should be a motivation for us to fight and fight until we get out of this dungeon. Because no human being was created to suffer. Talk less of Ambazonia with all the resources that we have. God did not create us for suffering. God did not create us as a punished race. And so we are not going to subject ourselves to human beings reducing us to what they are. We're going to excavate ourselves, to extradite ourselves from that jungle, and use Akom Day, Ebolova, the hometown of Mr. Paul Biya, as evidence why we must go. We have to live because every normal human being vows to have a better future. There is no future where they are because they cannot take care of theirs. Don't expect them to take care of yours, even under a unitary state. It will not happen. And so, all of us watching, let us take that piece of evidence. If Akom, the hometown of Mr. Paul Biya, is that terrible, when do you expect something to be better in India, where the oil is coming from? Where do you expect something to be better in Mbveh, in Akwaya, where we don't have oil? Zero. Ambazonians, remember with your eyes open. Let us fight this thing, free ourselves for today, and tomorrow we'll have a better future. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Meanwhile, tensions have escalated in Kumbo, a town in southern Cameroun's Ambazonia, after female traders at the Mbveh main market staged a protest over alleged repeated abuses by security forces. The women gathered at the entrance of the market, voicing concerns about what they describe as ongoing harassment, intimidation, and violence against civilians by military personnel stationed in the area. The protest temporarily disrupted activity at one of the town's key commercial hubs. Well, according to local sources, civilians heading to Mbveh market are frequently subjected to arrest and physical assault during security checks. The operations are reportedly carried out under the suspicion that individuals visiting the market may have links to the ASA. Well, residents allege that the enforcement measures are indiscriminate, affecting traders, buyers, and passerbys alike. Some individuals are said to be released after being beaten, while others are reportedly detained and freed only after payments are made, raising concerns about extortion. During the protest, the women called on authorities to address the situation, questioning whether they should abandon their business altogether if condition remains unchanged. In response, the local military commander reportedly stated that he was not aware of the alleged abuses and indicated that an investigation would be conducted into the conduct of troops deployed at the Mbveh. The incident adds to the growing concerns about the treatment of civilians in war, especially women in Ambazonia, where tensions between security forces and local populations remains highly high. Well, this is a very sad one, Barrister. Of course, we already know that when it comes to war issues like this, the children and the women are always at the top front of abuse and suffer. Now, women are saying that military, are always abusing them. And then from complaint, it turns into torture. And at the end of the day, they say they are looking into it. What happens before a solution is provided? And the women are asking, will they stop going to the markets? Will they stop leaving their houses? Will they stop doing what they have to do until these so-called investigations are done? This is not the first time we're getting information about this. There was a time some group of young ladies also came up to say that these military men sent in, these colonial military men, are always abusing and raping them and even forcing them to be in a relationship. There was a time we handled that and it seemed like it went on the low. Right about now, the women are crying for help. But let's get to hear your thoughts, Barrister.
Well, the thing is this, one will never be tired of saying what we've said many times. When you talk about a local market in Mbveh, that is in Kumbo. A local market is where women come and sell food. People come and sell palm wine and drink and all that sort of stuff. These local markets, if there's any control over the markets, is the responsibility of the council. Because local markets are supervised by the councils, sometimes they are created by the councils. What is the role of the military in a local market? What in there in the first place? Who brought them there? If there's a mayor in charge of that thing, that marketplace, can you order them to go away? Of course you will not, because he doesn't have the power. And so, I've said earlier, where this military takes over the streets, takes over your latrine, dictates when you go to sleep, law and order has completely collapsed. Because the military are not trained to maintain law and order, they are trained to fight people. If a military guy met you with his gun, he was hungry for sex, and you know that he will rape you at will and nobody will punish him, why would he do it? Why would he not do it? Why would they why would men not even do it on a single woman? There's no sanction for that. Nobody's going to punish any of them. And then of course the usual story is we shall investigate. Investigating what? Why did you deploy your soldiers in the market in the first place? With guns. If the soldier must go to the market to buy his or her own cocoyams or plantains or potatoes, why does he need to carry a gun? Why does he need to carry a gun to the market where the women are selling just food? And so if they wanted to catch the so-called ASAs in the market, do they need to come with guns if they knew what they are doing? Who's an ASA who is sitting there in the market and see a military guy with a gun will come and say, this is me here? This is absolute nonsense. Yeah, what happened in Jakiri a few days ago? They come into a festival, they see people dancing. People have come and converged there, they park their motorbikes, they burn them, they shoot and kill the people, and say they're fighting Amba. This thing shall go without end. But again, back to our story before, the problem we have is these things, we're crying them here. When the time comes to tell them, to tell the rightful people, the people who are supposed to tell the story, don't tell it. What story was told to the bishop, to the pope in the cathedral in Bamenda? Could the organizers of that event have brought any woman from Mbveh market or any woman from Ekona town to say this is the effect of the war on us? They would not. First, because they are afraid if they did that, they themselves will be at risk. They will kill them. And so they wasted the Pope's time. He sat there, they told the story that they wanted to hear. They hid the real facts of the story. This is a typical story of women in the marketplace being hunted by armed men, officially military guys. If they had to tell the story, they would pretend that they were Ambas. And so, again, this is where we find ourselves. Our elites, or those who are placed to talk, cannot talk because they want to talk on both sides of their mouth. First, they are afraid. Secondly, they are bought. Thirdly, they are accomplices to the stories. And so the poor Mbveh women, may God save them. May God save them. But again, this is again after the Pope came in. If there's any lesson they ever learned, they would have known that at the very least, give the poor women sell their crops. Which is more important, that woman selling the food that she will eat the next day, or forcing her to send her children to go to school in the insecurity. Because that's what the Archbishop chose to tell. In his own words, for 8 years, well, he said 4 years, our children have not been allowed to go to school. Not be allowed by who? Rather than say the children could not go to school because of the insecurity, he said they were not allowed. Actually, somebody sat on the road with the policeman preventing the children from going to school. See, speaking on both sides, from both sides of your own mouth doesn't solve the problem. Being straightforward tells the truth. The truth is always bitter. It must be told. And sometimes even when they tell the truth, a bitter story, you may lose your life. But better die telling the truth than die lying to yourself. Over to you.
Very strong lines there. Thank you so much, Barrister. And it's with that report that would come to the end of tonight's Undaunted. It's just been series and series of sad reports here. Hopefully, on Saturday, we'll have you as we talk on some very important issue on Ambazonia this week with Mr. Tapa the King. Until then, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, thousands mourn Saudi camera as car bomb killing exposes Mali's deepening security crisis is what we will be dealing on next when we return right after the break. Thousands of mourners gathered in Mali's capital, Bamako, on Thursday to pay their final respect to the country's slain Defense Minister Sadio Kamara in a solemn ceremony held under heavy security. Kamara, a key figure in Mali's military-led government, was killed on Saturday in a devastating car bomb explosion at his residence in Kati, a garrison town just outside Bamako. The blast also claimed the lives of his wife and 2 granddaughters, amplifying national grief and outrage over the attack. The assassination has sent shockwaves across the West African nation, highlighting the persistent and evolving security threats facing Mali. Authorities say the bombing was part of a broader wave of coordinated assaults carried out over 2 days by jihadist groups, reportedly acting in collaboration with Tuareg separatist factions. The attacks targeted multiple military installations across the country, exposing vulnerabilities in Mali's security framework. Thursday's tribute ceremony drew thousands, including government officials, military personnel, and civilians, all united in mourning. Security was visibly tightened across Bamako, reflecting fears of further violence following the high-profile killing. Kamara was widely regarded as the central architect of Mali's current defense strategy, playing a crucial role in efforts to combat insurgent groups that have destabilized the country for over a decade. His death marks a significant blow to the government and raises concerns about potential escalation in militant activities. In the aftermath, Malian authorities have vowed to intensify counter-terrorism operations and bring those responsible to justice. Meanwhile, citizens and observers alike are questioning how such a high-level official could be targeted so directly, showing broader concerns about intelligence gaps and internal security. The incident adds to the growing instability in the Sahel region, where extremist violence and separatist conflicts continue to challenge state authority and regional security efforts. Oh well, away from that, when we return right after the break, China responds to speculation over nuclear-powered aircraft carrier after plea Navy video sparks buzz. Well, China's Ministry of National Defense has downplayed growing speculation that the country is on the verge of unveiling its first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier following widespread attention to a recent promotional video released by the People's Liberation Army, the PLA Navy. At a regular press briefing on Thursday, military spokesperson Zhang Zhigang addressed online discussion surrounding a character in the video identified as He Jian. Observers had noted that the name is a homophone for nuclear vessel in Chinese, prompting theories that the clip subtly hinted at a major upcoming milestone in China's naval capabilities. Zhang dismissed the speculation, reiterating that China's approach to aircraft carrier development remains measured and strategic. Aircraft carrier construction is always considered comprehensively based on national security needs and the development of equipment and technology, Zhang said, emphasizing that such decisions are guided by long-term planning rather than symbolic messaging. The promotional video released earlier this week by the People's Liberation Army Navy showcases personnel training and modernization efforts quickly drew attention both domestically and internationally. Analysts and social media users alike distorted its detail, with the name He Jian becoming a focal point of discussion. Responding to the interpretation, Zhang added a literary note: as the saying goes, there are 1,000 hamlets in 1,000 people's eyes, suggesting that viewers may be reading too much into creative elements of the video. China currently operates conventionally powered aircraft carriers, including the Liaoning and the Shandong, with a third carrier, Fujian, undergoing testing, while experts widely believe that a nuclear-powered carrier would represent the next stop in China's naval modernization. Beijing has not officially confirmed any such program timeline. The remarks comes amid increasing global attention on China's expanding maritime capabilities and ongoing efforts to project power beyond its immediate region. Analysts say that while speculation may continue, official signals on sensitive defense developments are likely to remain tightly controlled. And that's it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news Untold Stories. But before we go, let's take a look at the news that made it to tonight's headlines. Right, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that Ekona residents decry mass abduction, beatings by bees, and sweep for Ambazonian State Army. Also tonight, we told you that French Cameroon Army defuses suspected IED at Tubah as ASA campaign continues. Also, heavy rain cut off Akom 2 as roads become impassable, raising fresh infrastructure concerns in the Cameroons. Tonight, we told you that tensions are rising in Kumbo as female traders protest against military abuses at the Mbveh market, while on the African scene, thousands mourn Sadio Camara's car bomb killing exposes Mali's deepening security crisis, while China responds to speculation over nuclear-powered aircraft carrier after play Navy video sparks buzz. All right, that's it for tonight's Undaunted. On behalf of Barrister Mbeseha and the team of technicians behind tonight's production, it's good night and God bless. Thank you for being with us.